Why is it the more toxic he is, the harder you fight to make it work? Why does your gut scream something's off, but your heart whispers, maybe I'm just overthinking it? Why do you find yourself defending him to your friends while secretly Googling signs of narcissistic abuse at 200 a.m.? It's weird, right? How'd you feel so drained, still so attached? How you keep trying to love someone who treats your kindness like a vending machine, only showing up when he wants a hit of your energy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The red flags weren't confusing. You were just taught to see them as your responsibility. to forgive. What if the entire dynamic was never about love at all? What if your empathy has been programmed to serve someone else's ego? And what if the reason you stayed has nothing to do with weakness and everything to do with the strength that's been hijacked? Keep watching, because once you see this pattern, you'll never fall for it again. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't show up in your eyes, it settles in your spirit. It's waking up with that dull ache in your chest, like you've been holding your breath for months, maybe years. You smile at work, you reply to texts, but something in you is slowly disappearing. You've been living in emotional quicksand. The more you try to explain, the deeper you sink. Every conversation turns into a courtroom, and somehow you're always on trial. You second guess your own memory. You apologize for things you didn't do. You shrink, dim, twist yourself into whatever version he needs just to keep the peace. But peace has never lived in that house. Only control rests as charm. Only manipulation wrapped in love. And still, you stayed because walking away felt like failure. Because you kept seeing glimpses of who he could be. Because you thought, if I just love him harder, maybe he'll finally see me. You've tried to pray it away, to rationalize the chaos, to hold on to the good moments like they could outweigh the damage. But let's be honest, this wasn't just a toxic relationship. It was spiritual warfare disguised as romance. And you've been bleeding emotionally for so long, you've forgotten what it feels like to be safe inside your own heart. That's not love. That's survival with a smile on. And if you've been there, if you're still there, you're not broken. You're not stupid. You're not weak. You're just tired of loving someone who's never had the capacity to love you back. And you're not alone. There's a whole generation of women who've confused intensity with intimacy, who've mistaken chaos for chemistry, who've been taught to stay quiet, stay kind, stay soft even when it's killing them. But there's a cost. The longer you stay, the more of yourself you lose. And some women don't find their way back. That's why we need to talk, not about him, but about you, because your story isn't over. In fact, the most powerful chapter hasn't even started yet. Here's the truth no one tells you. You weren't crazy. You were conditioned to ignore your instincts, to call manipulation misunderstanding, to label abuse as a rough patch. You were trained by culture, by trauma, maybe even by your own family to stay loyal to dysfunction. But here's where everything changes. You don't need permission to leave a relationship that's slowly killing your soul. You don't need him to admit he was wrong. You don't need closure from someone who never gave you clarity. You need something deeper, a return to yourself. Because the most dangerous thing a narcissist steals isn't your time, or energy, or even your heart, it's your mirror. He makes you forget who you are. He rewrites your reality until you can't tell the difference between love and emotional hostage-taking. But you want to know the wild part? That mirror, it was never broken. It was buried under years of gaslighting. Buried under I'm sorry, but you made me do it. Buried under second chances that turned into 10 to 10th chances. And now is the moment you dig it up. Because the woman you were before all this, the one who laughed with her whole body, the one who didn't flinch at her own reflection, the one who believed in joy and boundaries and the right kind of love, she's not gone. She's waiting. And the bridge back to her is built on one powerful truth. Healing doesn't begin when he apologizes. It begins the moment you stop blaming yourself. You can't heal in the same place that broke you. You can't grow in a space designed to shrink you. And you definitely can rise while dragging someone who refuses to rise with you. So shift the question from why did he treat me like that to why did I stay after the second betrayal? Why did I make excuses for the pain? Not from a place of guilt, but from a place of power. Because once you ask the real questions, you unlock the real answers. And those answers, they'll lead you out of the cycle. They'll lead you home. Here's what no one teaches us. You don't heal by chasing closure. You heal by choosing clarity every damn day. And it starts with this: stop making it your job to understand him. You don't need a psychological deep dive into his trauma, his childhood, or why he turned out that way. You need boundaries. Not the cute kind that sound good in journals, the kind that actually protect your nervous system. You need space, real space, away from his infamous influence, his text, his voice in your head telling you you're too emotional or you'll never find better. You need silence not because you're weak, but because solitude is where your real self speaks the loudest. And here's the part that stings. Healing isn't always pretty. It's not bubble baths and motivational quotes. It's crying on the floor and it's saying no to the text you used to wait for. It's sitting with the ick and not calling it love, but with every no you're saying yes to yourself. So choose one thing today, just one. Block the number. Unfollow the social media. Write the truth down, no filter. Speak the words out loud. That was not love. That was control. Because every time you tell the truth, you take your power back. And over time, you stop checking your phone. You stop replaying old arguments. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's comfort zone. You start remembering how to take up space. Listen, God didn't bring you this far to leave you in pieces. There is a version of you waiting on the other side of this pain who doesn't settle, doesn't second guess, and doesn't confuse attention with affection. But you have to fight for her, not with bitterness, not with revenge, but with consistency, with small, quiet decisions to choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, freedom over familiarity. And no, he may never say sorry. He may never understand what he did. But that's not your story anymore. Your story is about becoming whole, one bold step at a time. Now that you've seen the truth, now that you've named it, you're no longer the same woman who tolerated it. You started something most people never do. You've broken the silence. But here's what comes next. Something even more dangerous than the narcissist's manipulation, your kindness being used against you. Because even after you leave, even after you find your voice, you'll be tempted to be the bigger person, to stay polite, to stay nice. That's exactly what they count on. In the next video, Stop Being Kind to a Narcissist, we dive into how predators feed on your empathy and why your kindness isn't just misused, it's weaponized. If you've ever felt guilty for setting boundaries, if you've ever been called to cold just for protecting your peace, this next message is for you. It's not about becoming hard. It's about becoming clear. Don't miss this. And remember, you're not broken. You're becoming, not harder, not colder, wiser. This is Wisdom Recorder, your knowledge source. Subscribe and like if you're ready to rewrite the ending.